Callum, let's talk about you. People talk about fights of the year, and I've had to listen to all that waffle about Conor Benn and Chris Eubank being the fight of the year. I think the fight of the year was you versus Josh Buatsi, in my mind. I don't know what the boys think. Your brother will probably concur. What's the next fight for you, Callum?
David Morrell, the WBO ordered me to fight David Morrell as a mandatory for my interim title, so that's the fight what's in negotiations now. Last I spoke with Eddie, he's agreed to put it on early in 2026 with Turkey over there, so that's the latest I've heard. I've had no final confirmation, but I'm hearing early 2026 over in Riyadh as a potential date. So, but I think the next fight has to be either Morrell or vacate, and the belt puts me in a very good position for the world title, so I have no intentions on vacating. So it's a good fight. It's a fight I like, a fight that does motivate me. I think he's a good fighter, good slick southpaw, so no, I'm looking forward to getting my teeth into camp.
Because when I spoke to you, when we did up front about 18 months ago, you talked about what you were going to do next, and you wanted to be able to become a two-weight world champion, and you'd only take meaningful fights. And of course, you then go in with Josh Buatsi and do the number one Josh Buatsi. Why is Anthony Yarde fighting David Benavidez and you're not?
He was asked and I went. In all honesty, there was a lot of misinformation around the time, but I was offered the fight off PBC, not the Saudis.
Right.
And it wasn't a great offer, to be fair, so we started trying to negotiating. Then I got a phone call off Eddie saying Turkey Benavidez is fighting in Riyadh, he wants to try and make the fight. So I said, well, great. That was the last I heard. I left it to Eddie, and then I was away with these, and I seen on my phone the Yarde fight has happened, and I think they kind of knew what they paid me for Buatsi, so the money'd have to be similar or more, and they obviously offered Buatsi.
Let me make the question more pointed then. Does it not give you the arsehole that, given the fact that you've beaten potentially what people consider to be the form fighter in the light heavyweight division, right, the one that most people were tipping to be having a shot at a world title, you've gone in and beaten him, and someone else is getting an opportunity to do what you wanted to do. You considered coming back, and only coming back to have meaningful fights, and only coming back to be a world champion, right? Which is what you and I talked about 18 months ago. And someone else has been given a shot. Doesn't that get up your nose a little bit?
Yeah, definitely, because the Benavidez fight is a fight that I want. I've been vocal about that. I think we were both world champion at 168 at the same time, and it's a fight I always thought would happen. We were both big 168, so I thought we both ended up at 175, which we are now, and he's got himself the WBC title. But I don't know, I think I'm in a good position regardless. I'm WBO interim champion, and I think that fight will happen, providing I come through my next one. I think the Benavidez fight will always be there. There's a Bivol fight, there's other big names in the division, and it's more just a case of not just jumping because the offer comes. I'm in a good position, whereas before my last fight, if I got offered the fight, I jump at it because there's no other opportunities out there for me, whereas I think now I was in a bit of a better position, and I said I'm very, very confident the Benavidez fight does happen in 26.
So judging by that conclusion, then I'm assuming that you think Benavidez is going to win this fight.
Yeah, I do. I think it'll be a good fight. I think it'll be competitive early on, but I think stylistically Benavidez has got a very, very good work rate and a good punch output, and I think that's probably the style to beat Yarde. I think Yarde's a good fighter, but I don't think he does the 12 rounds well. I think the pace Benavidez sets, and I think Benavidez' boxing abilities are better than what people give him credit for as well. So I do favour Benavidez in that fight, but I say it's a good fight and you never know.
When you look at Benavidez, and given the fact you've just made an observation about you both fought at super middleweight, and you're both big super middleweights, is it a fair observation, because we've kicked this around as well, Paul, haven't we, about the power that Benavidez is carrying up to light heavies? Do you think he's carrying the same power that he had at super middleweights? No,
not the same as what he had. I think he's more stunted his work rate and his punch output. He's big, but in terms of one punch knockout power, I think he hits hard enough, but I don't think he's a banger, if that makes sense. But he hits hard enough, and I think it's more his punch output's phenomenal for the big guy. So he's a good fighter. It's someone I respect, I like, but I've always liked that type of fight between. I think stylistically it'll gel pretty well. So fingers crossed if we both come through at our next fight, then I think that's a fight that will happen.
Right. You moved up from super middleweight to light heavyweight, obviously before him. Does it take that time to adjust, to get that? Because we're talking about punch power. He was a monster at super middle. May not carry that power right now, but does it take time, is what I'm saying, to adjust it into that weight division?
Yeah, definitely. I do think it does. I think regardless if you see a lot of the top fighters now, they move up, but it's more just for a challenge rather than having to move up. Whereas I had to move up the weight. I couldn't do the weight no more. But even then, you still take time to adjust in your body to adjust to the weight. So yeah, I do think as time goes on, Benavidez' power will improve, because he could punch at super middle. He is a puncher, so I say he's young as well compared to the rest of us as well. I think he was world champion at 21 the first time around. I think he's like 27, 28 now. So he probably has still got time on his side. But say he is a very good fighter, but one I would love to share the ring with.
We've got Josh Buatsi on the comeback trail, obviously fighting Zach Parker, which was a fight that I think Frank Warren wanted to make for some time. I think that's a fight that Josh Buatsi should come through. But I wanted to know what your takeaways from the fight were when you fought Josh Buatsi, about him, and also what you took away from yourself in that, about your performance.
Yeah, I think I had a lot of respect for him going in. I knew he was, he's an Olympic medalist. I knew he had a lot of ability and he was a good fighter. And everyone you speak to in and around the game used to say how physically strong he was, and he always spars a lot of bigger guys and stuff. So I knew I had to be good to beat him. He's a lot tougher than what I expected. I hit him with some good shots.
You did.
Up close, you kind of hear the body shots, and they're having an effect. And there's times where I thought I had him, and then he'd come back and fire at me, and he'd get himself back in the fight. So I've got a lot of respect for him in that sense. He took some shots that a lot of other fighters wouldn't, and I think over 12 rounds, and you do gain that respect for each other. But he's a good fighter. I knew going in, and I've got the same opinion since, but probably a little bit more respect for his toughness.
I think what we found from Buatsi there was he's got a lot of character. Yeah. Because there were times there, like you say, when the action was going one way and the other, and we've seen you and we've seen your career, and we know that you can come through those sort of like sticky moments. But with him, there was a couple of really tough times that he was having there where you're going, he could crack here, he could break at any point. You're thinking he's going to go, and then he was finding something from somewhere. That is testament to the man. Yeah,
definitely. It's a bit of everything. It's fitness, it's heart, desire, I think. And again, you're probably, even in himself, you don't know you've got it until you're forced to show it. And he hadn't really been asked those questions throughout his career, and I think that's what was probably the only question mark left over him. But no, I'd say he showed his toughness most definitely.
For you, the win, Callum. I mean, I like you very much, and I like Josh, right? And so I had mixed emotions personally, insofar as my opinion is relevant, about who I wanted to win the fight, because I like both of you. I'm great respect of your family, as you know I am. But there were doubters about you going into that fight. Josh Buatsi was considered to be, albeit some question about the fact that he could have fought Bivol a few years earlier with Eddie Hearn and didn't choose to go down that route, and so on and so forth. But was it a kind of, I suppose, for want of a better expression, was it a bit of a two fingers moment for you up at the doubters about where you were and what you were doing?
Yeah, it's a good way of putting it. But yeah, I think everything I'd done in my career, it wasn't like, I feel like I was written off completely, and I understand. I felt like I lost to the best in the division at the time, Beterbiev. People acted as if I'd lost that English title level and completely wrote me off after it, and the bit of time out the ring. And I understood like the motivational sides of it, like if he's been a world champion, he's earning good money, what's he still in the game for? But I've been around boxing a long time and know how tough it is, and I wouldn't do it just for the sake of doing it. And if I didn't believe I was good enough to be a world champion again, I wouldn't do it. There's better things to do at my time. So I was always confident myself, but again, until you get in there, you don't really know deep down yourself. And I was glad that I'd done it in a tough fight as well, which showed that the hunger still is there, the desire still is there, and I'm very close to becoming a 2-weight world champion now, which is a goal that I've set myself out to do.
I think the question that was going to be the obvious one for everyone was, because of the career that you've had and the great career that you've had, when you're going into a fight like that where you go, this could be the coming of age fight, if you like, for Joshua Buatsi to move on to that next level, and they're going, the obvious question that everyone's going to ask is, what's the motivation, what's the desire at this stage of your career? And you answered those questions, and only you could do that. Everyone, but that would be the obvious question for everyone to ask at that stage.
Yeah, I said before, like in the full build-up in the fight week, the interviews, I understood people's doubts, I understood sort of a lot of the questions, but it's still not nice when you're completely written off by a lot of people against someone who, before I fought Beterbiev, I'd probably started as favourite. Something, and I lost to Beterbiev now makes him the favourite, whereas it's not like I lost to a bad fighter, I lost to a good fighter, albeit I underperformed, which I understand, but I know myself better than anyone, and I had a very good camp. I was in good shape, and I think the fact that people did write me off gave me that bit of fear factor and motivation to have a good camp, and, as you say, a bit of a two-finger moment.
I just want to ask you about the two fights between Beterbiev and Bivol, and what you made of those two fights, and also who you think wins the third fight to complete the trilogy.
I thought they were both very similar fights, both very good fights.
Were you surprised by Bivol in the second fight? Because he went up levels that I didn't think he was going to go up against Beterbiev.
Yeah, but I also thought the start of the second fight, he looked like he was sulking a little bit, and Beterbiev started well, and then Bivol kind of just took over. And I think the more they were to fight, the later it gets. I think it favoured Bivol more and more. I think he's just a little bit fresher now.
I think they could have 7 fights, and they'd all probably be razor tight.
Every single
the
styles gelled very, very well, to be fair.
Tight.
Yeah, it's on the day, isn't it? Like it's like literally, you know,
That's the
we
top
can have a
level.
perfect training camp and you think you're there, and then on the day it's like you're walking through treacle, punching through treacle, and you can't work that out. It's just
But there was a gap
on
in the second fight, wasn't it? In the first fight, there was a debate, right? A lot of people thought that Bivol could have won that first fight, and they thought it was tight in the first fight. In the second fight, Bivol did go up a level, didn't he? He did raise the level.
He adapted.
He did.
I think I felt Bivol did enough in the first fight.
Beterbiev started better in the second fight.
It was a better fight in the second fight, and the right man won. But I think the top level in sport, in every sport, especially boxing, when you get two fighters like that, then fights are always probably going to be like that.
Who'd you pick for the third one then?
Bivol. I think he's just fresher, and the older Beterbiev's going to get now. I think the gap may be just a little bit more each time.
Very good. We'll wait and see, and we'll look forward to seeing you out.